Welcome, family. Bienvenue à tout le monde. Gabrielle Hélène here. I'm so ecstatic, y'all. I am here today with one of my favorite humans, point, but also one of the people whose entrepreneurial spice, zest, and approach to leadership inspires me the most in my business. I'm so honored. Shannon Fadness-Cao is here with us today, our July interview guest. Shan, thank you so much for being here.
Gosh, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited to be here. I've been excited all morning. I was like, what time is it? What time is it? What time is it? Time to be on there.
And you know what? It's actually a miracle because all of the, other than like two of my interview guests, all of them have been in other time zones and I almost always screw them up. So it's like, this is just the universe telling us we're both supposed to be here. Kara is also on the call. She's joining us, so she may pop in audio wise and ask us some questions. And Shan, I just want to dive in. I have so many questions for you myself. And you know, it's really funny. I always use these interviews to ask my questions. I'm like, if people watch it afterwards, great. But this is actually me just picking your brain as a business owner that has really forged your own path. So let's just dive in. I would love to know, first and foremost, what was your first doTERRA oils experience like?
Okay, so I was working in a restaurant that was like a super lucrative restaurant job, and it was really great, and I hated it, right? And so I worked with all these amazing people. And one of the people I worked with, Danielle, who is also a part of our doTERRA family around here, Danielle Kurtz. She worked with me there too. And she found out about doTERRA because of Elena's like beautiful platform and the kind of energy that she attracts. And so she had started working with the oils and brought me all these little samples, right? Like since people are like, you don't need to sample, you know, well, I'm like, well, I don't know, the sampling worked for me. Like I had a lot of experience with oils. I worked for a skincare company that tried to use all natural stuff. And there was always something about the oils that some of them, you could totally tell that there was something going on with them that wasn't good. But I didn't know to the depth of what was going on in the industry, right? Until I got into doTERRA. But she had shared all these samples with me and I kept putting it off, like, oh, come over to my house. You can smell everything I have and we can like try them out. Oh, okay, yeah, I'll come over. Yeah, okay. I don't know. Cause I was like, oh, she wants me to spend money. You know, money was like my main stressor, like as it is for so many people. But when you work one of those jobs where you never know how much you're going to make, like it can feel like a lot of money. And so finally she sent me with this full-size roller that she made of Serenity, because I was going to Vietnam for 2 months with my husband to visit some of his family who still lived there. And we used that roller. We were just like, Serenity now, in the back of this like 15-passenger van, like driving in the like mountainous region of Vietnam, and like in the like we're like basically 30-something-year-old kids in the back of a van feeling like we were teenagers again, like we don't know where we're going, we don't know what we're doing, what are we going to eat, and the adults are making all the decisions, right? So we're using that roller like for aromatherapy constantly on that trip. And so it was Jimmy and his sister and I in the back there, just like Serenity now, like smelling it. And that was the first oil that I got introduced to. It was actually Serenity that I had a relationship with, right? Like the other ones, I smelled them and I really liked them, but it was like, I think the ability to actually use it that made me realize what the possibilities would be for myself, you know?
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that story. You've already brought up like 6 points that I want to talk to just in that introduction. And we will also, it's funny, I almost invited you and Jimmy because I haven't had a like couple on as guests yet. So I mean,
Yeah,
if he's like walking around like half naked and wants to pop on and say hi, he is
that's why we
more
have a
than
curtain. I
he
don't
is,
know.
he
If
is
he
more than
comes by,
welcome.
I'll have him pop in for sure.
Okay. Okay.
I
Amazing.
think he's doing some research on another project that we're working on. So he like gets into design mode, and
Yeah,
it's so awesome. But yeah, we should do that in a future episode
totally.
or something. I don't know.
Totally. I would love that because you're both just so spectacular. Like Jimmy's energy, when I met him at convention, I was immediately magnetized to him. Like he had a very, convention can be a very overwhelming experience. And I remember at one point you both walked over to me. I was having a timeout. I was sitting at the back of the, like, do you remember this? I was sitting at the back of the convention center, back against the wall, like behind a garbage bin, basically counting to 100 because I was like, why are there so many people? And you both came over and sat down, and Jimmy just put his hand like just on my shoulder, and I was immediately like,
Yeah,
okay, like he's got me if I need to, like, tuck and roll out of here in an
right.
emergency,
Yeah,
you know.
totally.
So he's so amazing. um let's dive into my questions about Go Alignment because I really want to talk about that, but then I also want to talk about, okay, so for people who are maybe watching this who don't know, which would surprise me because I've spoken about your business before, you and Jimmy together created Go Alignment, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so why don't you tell us a little bit about what that business is and how that came to be?
Yeah. So after that Vietnam trip, I got back. And Jimmy and I had been working in restaurants for a long time and living like what we referred to as vacation lifestyle, which meant we would split a 12-pack of Olympia beer and chain smoke cigarettes like multiple times a week, like we were just kind of like relax, whatever. But on the inside, I was just like a very frustrated creatrix, right? Very frustrated artist and very like overloaded neurological system kind of, energetically with, family trauma, childhood trauma, just being on the planet, is a lot. And I didn't realize what all that was. But I went over to Danielle's house and I placed my first order based on my nose and what it could do for my body. And I started using Siberian, or not Siberian fur, but white fur, which Siberian fur replaced, and which they are interchangeable for uses. And it really helped with like the tension in my back. And so I started getting into the business of doTERRA, like the idea of wrapping my head around that. And I was using the oils like all the time. And I was really inspired to give up the smoking and drinking. Like it had been something that I had had this like negative relationship with for years and really wanted to stop, but like didn't really know how. I stopped for like 6 months, years back, and it didn't stick because I didn't really change anything else in my life. Like you can't just take away what is alleviating that like bombardment on your nervous system and not replace it with something. And for me, the lifelong vitality pack like gave me just this little boost up of feeling better. And then using the oils to address myself during the day made a huge difference. But I was constantly digging in a little pouch, trying to find them. I'm like, this is just not, like the labels are getting all messed up. I'm kind of like, I'm a visual person. So I get really, like, I don't like it when the labels get all messed up. And I couldn't find what I needed. And so we were camping out at our like favorite place to camp up in Washington, canoe camping. And Jimmy and I were just sitting there. And normally when we would have been just like sipping beers and smoking cigs, we're sitting there like talking about what it would be like to have a doTERRA business. Like, yeah, okay, what does that mean? And then I'm like, yeah, but like if I'm going to share this stuff, like I kind of want to know, I want to be able to like have it where I can get to it, right? Like, and it would be nice if I had a bag that you could see everything. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, can we make something like that? And he's like, yeah, totally. Cause we had like worked him through design, like apparel design school in Seattle, which they have an amazing program at their community college there, at one of the community colleges, but it's extremely intense. And so we'd been through this experience together, right? But he had all these skills that we weren't utilizing yet. And I had all these skills from my undergrad that I just kind of pushed to the side, because I got a fine arts degree in fibers, which is basically like anything you want to do with cloth and dyeing or weaving, like whatever, wide open. So I have a lot of skills in that arena too. And so I was like, oh, if we can make something like that, I know other people are going to want it. Like other people would want it. Why don't we just try selling that too? Like do both at the same time. And so that's where the idea came from. It was like camping, hanging out. Like I need something, right? Like to carry these things. And everything was like, they're sweet. I love the little pouches that have the little things in there and all that. But like, I wanted something nice. I wanted something that like really honored the quality of doTERRA's oil specifically, and that really like spoke to my heart, you know, and it was an expression of what I love, and also like showcases what Jimmy can do. And so once we started prototyping and stuff, it was like basically just like a new world opened up to us, like to actually tap into your creativity makes such a big difference for creative people generally, but you have to have room to do that, right? Like I was totally like just so in that I got to work this job because we got to pay our rent. I got to do this. I got to do that. You know, like you get really blinded into that mode and you forget how capable you can be, you know, as a creative person. I think we all are. Like everybody has something. It doesn't have to be something like super life-changing or amazing, as long as it's life-changing and amazing to you, you know, like that's not what's important. Like that you are doing everything big, or the way, like, because with starting two businesses, and this kind of goes back to the forging your own path and like what we were talking about before we began recording, but I've really, for me, had to really figure out how to do things my own way and really be okay with that, because everything that is typical about like an MLM business or a network marketing business, or like even just a regular, like you're making something and selling it business, a lot of the things that are like hustle and da, 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 like that kind of like motivational stuff, like shuts me down big time. Like, and I know that some of that is like my past experiences and messages I got as a kid. And so for me, it's really been about like prioritizing my own healing first. Cause like all of this stuff, right? The oils, I got into Kundalini yoga, started to practice every single day. I got into like animism, you know, like believing that everything has energy and life in it, and really tapping into creating my own ritual and like spiritual practice around that. Like all of those things came together for me because I started accepting me the way that I am, you know, now or in the past, right? And so I really see this business as like a work in self-love. It's not a work in, oh, I'm gonna, you know, do all this whatever, right? And like even the changing other people's lives thing, I love that. Like when something that I've shared is making a difference for people, that like lights me up and I love it. But I had to do the like me stuff first, right? And I have to go back to that often in order to keep going. So I don't know, I feel like I've been talking a long time. So
no, like I am, every single thing you're saying is lighting me up. We could stop the interview now, but we're not gonna, because I have so many other questions. But everything I was hoping we would touch on is already surfacing, because I think one of the things, specifically for people who have creative energy, creative souls, and like you, I kind of believe that all humans are creative. Like that's how we survive, right? You know, even whether it's like how you make your bed in the morning versus how you spice up a grilled cheese sandwich versus being a designer, a dancer, you know, being someone who crunches numbers. There is creativity in everything that humans do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the things that can sometimes stunt newer builders, or even actually, I'm sorry, any builders, anyone building their own business, is at some point in your business, and in fact, probably several times along the way, you're going to hit a wall where you're going to be comparing your output of effort versus, you know, quote unquote success to someone else's.
Mm-hmm.
And since MLMs are traditionally numbers and ranked based businesses, there is a lot of comparison that goes on. So I'm curious about maybe some of your oil rituals or rituals in general for
Mm-hmm.
anchoring into, faith and trust and self-worth
Mm-hmm.
when you are clearly, doing things that are way outside of the box of what we would traditionally be told to do in order to build this business.
Yeah. So one of the things that I really like to do is I like to take a step back from social media. I've done that a lot this year. I was very resistant to doing that because the traditional narrative is you need to be on there, you need to be doing everything and whatever. But for me, it was really like, first of all, like set a boundary with the input where I'm getting all of this comparison information. And then really go to the practices that actually clear out what's going on up here, right? And so like whatever that is for people, some people it's running, meditation, different styles of yoga. For me, it's Kundalini yoga. And usually when I'm really in a stuck place or I'm feeling super against something, like I start doing a 40-day Kriya. That's especially something that's really challenging that like maybe I really don't want to do, because my philosophy since discovering this kind of yoga and just kind of generally is like, let the yoga be hard and life gets a lot easier, right? Like you can bring it to some kind of practice that gets it out of you, right? Like energetically and physically, like just, whether and what I love about the yoga is like, you're doing really weird things and it's distracting to your brain. So you don't have time to get into that space. And I always use oils with my yoga because it just is wonderful. Like I use the yoga collection every morning, right? Like anchor when we tune in, align when we do like the warm-ups, and then arise for like the meditation or the Kriya part. And then sometimes I'll carry those around, especially if I feel like I need more support, to remind me of my practice in the morning and how I feel when I open my eyes after doing 3 or 4 minutes of ego eradicator and like everything looks crisp and clear, right? And hopeful again. And so that really helps me. The other thing I do is I will journal. And this is what I did when I first got, like right before I got sober. I intuitively just decided to write down what I wanted in my life, right, on little pieces of paper. And then I used different resources like books, like this book and a lot of the other books that you see online, but to look for the meaning of different oils. And I anointed those pieces of paper with the oils, and then I burned them by the lake, like at that same lake where we came up with the idea. I didn't know what I was doing, but there's something about writing it, like choosing a plant that corresponds with the energy of the feeling of it or the intention, and then like letting it go, that really helps. And I've used that with like codependency patterns with my sister. Like we had the most codependent relationship when back like 4 or 5 years ago, and we've both done so much growth and healing around that, and a lot of it has to do with like us choosing to do our own self-care that looks totally different, right? Like mine looks totally different than hers, but I really think that like the act of choosing to pick up something that's going to help you or shift the way that you feel while honoring the feeling that you're in makes a huge difference. And the oils really, they do that. Like they do that instantly. And especially if you put meaning and intention on it, it's even more powerful because your brain believes it. It like solidifies it for you. So it's not like this is just like some magic oil, right? Like some snake oil that does something. It's like you're in communion with it. Like you're doing it, you're co-creating with it. And I really like honestly believe that that these like like the pure stuff that's made with like integrity the whole way, where people are treated right, you know, when they're growing it and the earth's treated right. Like this stuff is like the earth like directly communicating with us on a very high level, to help bring us along in what she's about, right? Like awakening, whatever, like all the words in the spiritual world that talk about that stuff. But really, it's just like we grew up on this planet in this environment, and a lot of the stuff in this environment can kill us, but a lot of it can also support us, and like tapping into that, you know?
Oh my gosh, yes. 100%. And you know, I think that one thing you touched on that is so important is, you know, the earth supports and sustains. doTERRA does in terms of their integrity on how they source the oils, how they get them to us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a key also of forging your own path, you know, is being in your integrity. Am I sharing these oils in a way that is aligned with my values? Am I chasing, am I pushing, or am I truly anchoring into the things about the oils that made me fall in love with them in the first place, you know?
Yep.
So I'm curious because you know, we didn't talk about that as much. And also I want to show everyone the Go alignment because I have both here. So I'm going to show them in a second. But so you are also leading a doTERRA team, correct?
And it's like super small.
Okay.
Right. And my business looks different than everybody, whatever, than a lot of things. But like the seeds that you plant, especially from that place of integrity, like it builds on itself, right? And so like I have some people that are just like mostly just sharers, but the more that I like am able to support them, the more like reach we have, right? And it's like being patient with people, right? Like I think about how I felt about the business when I first started and how intimidating it really felt, you know? And I don't want to be salesy, but really like working on where do those beliefs come from first, like really helped me a lot. And so for me, like the business part of it it comes naturally when you're with people, and like you don't have to be super like pushy about it or anything. Like it's the people see how it benefits you and they want that, you know, like everybody wants to feel better. It makes sense that like they kind of sell themselves once people really have like a relationship with it, you know? And you got to leave space for that to happen, right? Like if you're just like, here, do this and this and this, and it's going to cure that and that and that, like you're not really leaving space for people to kind of have their own experience with it. And like it really is about giving people like access to the tools and like helping them with the education, you know, like because you're not trying to just sell stuff, like you're trying to help people use these things in their daily lives as real tools for making them feel better, like be in a better world and all of that stuff.
For sure. And I think, you know, it's interesting. You bring up a point that we as leaders hear all the time, this argument of like, I don't want to be salesy, you know, and it's interesting because I understand that deep down in my core, but at the same time, if you don't want to be salesy, you won't be, you know what I mean? You can make that choice.
Mm-hmm.
I have never in my life gone to a restaurant and fallen in love with it and then thought to myself, oh, I shouldn't tell anyone that I love this restaurant because they'll think that you know what I mean? We don't think about that. You know, humans exchange their appreciation. I, as an empathetic human being, if I find something that has so greatly augmented my quality of life, my natural instinct is to want to share it. And yet there's something, and, you know, specifically around, women or, you know, non-cis or non-binary folk taking up space and wanting to earn and wanting to have income that is really frowned upon, you know? And I think that that's a really important and interesting thing to bring up and to be aware of when those thoughts come up. write it down. Where does that come from? What gives you the impression that you are going to be salesy? What experience did you have that felt icky in that way? And how can you avoid perpetuating that in your business, you know?
Yeah.
And so just on the very like nitty gritty side of things, what would you say your percentage division of effort between, say, like supporting your doTERRA business and supporting the Go alignment aspect of your business would be? Is it like 50-50? Is it?
Yeah, it's probably around 60-40. Like Go alignment kind of needs more physical attention.
Yeah.
But they work together so well that it's hard to like really weigh the full percentage of it. And especially when I'm really activated and marketing and inspired in that way, like it kind of just happens together. And one thing I will add to like the salesy thing is I used to feel really creeped out when people were selling to me. And what I realized about myself was that had everything to do with my scarcity feelings about money. And now that I don't, like, we still have to deal with money, right? Like it's still a total thing, but Jimmy and I like specifically did a lot of like EFT tapping about money, like money fear, because you have to, when you decide to quit your job, that's your one source of income, and you make choices about where you're going to live and what you're going to do based on wanting to do it a totally different way. And so I would say like if you're feeling super triggered about the I'm being too salesy thing, like really dig into your relationship with money. And that's like all like, you know, root chakra stuff, like really base like feelings of safety and security, and get into that relationship so that you can feel more comfortable generally, and it's going to benefit your any business or whatever you do. And when you out in the world and people are selling you something, you're not going to get like super creeped out by it. Like I don't get creeped out by it anymore. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'll listen to your sales pitch. Like that's not a big deal to me. Actually, I want to see how you're doing it. Like I'm interested in learning more about that. And it's another opportunity for me to like work with my money relationship, right? Because you don't ever have to give anybody your money if you don't want to, you know, like it's like we get this emotional obligation about things, and to remember that it's like not really personal in that aspect. Like the service and the like guidance and the support you're giving to people is super personal, right? Like that's the personal part. The money transaction, that's for them to figure out if they can afford it or not. Like, you know, I had to figure that out for myself too. Like they were doing the same promo they're doing this month where you get 50 free dollars. And for me, that was my hook. Like I was like, oh, okay, 50 free, you know, that's great. But I had to like come to that. And I ended up spending more money than I planned because I really loved and wanted those things. But Danielle like allowed me the space to make that choice, right? Like I think it really is about create like letting people off the hook, letting them know like, hey, you don't have to buy, but I'm going to give you all the information that you need so that you can make that choice for yourself. And when you're ready, I'm right here for you, you know, like just making it comfortable.
That's so powerful. That's so powerful. I'm so grateful, Shan, that you're sharing like so much wisdom, and especially around scarcity. You know, it's just like life is hard. Okay. Like life is hard. I don't know any humans that don't have some sort of scarcity or trauma around something, around worthiness, you know, and these are all things that I've found doTERRA has a tendency to put those little like nicks and cuts and scrapes under a microscope. You know, that's what I've found in my business, is that the things that are unhealed or the things that need more love and more compassion are, you know, you see them a lot more clearly in this business, because
Yeah.
you will have times when you are challenged. You know, there will be times when things feel tight and you don't know if you should keep going, you know, and I love what you said about EFT. I really believe any sort of somatic modality that you can use to get very, very present in your body is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, you know, because my little doTERRA family that I'm building, that Kara and I are co-creating on, have heard us say like all the things a million times. So I'm curious, if I were to ask you what your advice would be for someone who's just getting started and who maybe hasn't even enrolled yet and is just curious about where the heck to even, what is my next right action? Because we often talk about next right action in our team calls. What would you suggest?
Like, as far as just in regards to the oils. Yeah, I mean, if you have samples, just freaking use them. Like, like if somebody's sampled with you, or if you know somebody and somebody's reached out to you, ask them for samples. Like, it's totally okay to ask people and then actually use them. Like, because the way that things transform for me, I mean, going back to the Serenity Roller, is actually using it. Like, actually experiencing what they can do makes a huge difference in, like, you're able to get it, right? And it's not anything that needs to be expensive. Like, if I had to start out and I had like no resources, like when I started out and I gave up smoking and drinking, I had like those resources to put into this, right? Like, what was I using to harm myself but to feel better, right? And when I looked at the money, I was like, oh, I can totally afford my monthly order so that Jimmy and I can take really great supplements that make us feel way better. And I can use the points from those supplements to build my collection. I still do that. Like, even though like I'm getting paid, right? Like, I'm getting paid from Go Alignment. I'm getting like my order paid for from doTERRA. I still just invest in my core health and do that to the best of your ability, like where you're at right now. They just really, the highest quality, most reachable thing that you can get, like whether it's from doTERRA or if it's something else, it doesn't really, these things don't matter. It's like the act of investing in yourself and being willing to do that. Like, that was my biggest thing that kept me from purchasing from Danielle in the first place, but also just from straight up taking care of myself. Like, I just did not have the kind of tenderness for myself that I have now, where I'm like, absolutely, I'm gonna buy that for myself. It's gonna it's gonna support my health. I'm gonna feel better. But that had to start like incrementally, right? I was like, okay, I can take vitamins. Oh my God, I feel a lot better taking these vitamins. Like, what? Okay, I'll switch over. And I was already a hippie. Like, we already didn't have stuff in our home. When Jimmy found out that they made home products, he was like, oh my God, if we could just get people to stop using all that crap in their house, like, that would be worth doing this business because of the ripple of what it would do for the water and the environment, right? To just get like more of the chemical load out of the world in general. And so like sometimes it looks like micro, right? Like, oh, I'm going to take care of me, I'm going to take care of this, da 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 da. But like, when you can open people's awareness to how they can benefit you, I mean, just think of like how many loads of laundry you do and not putting petroleum products in that laundry, right? Like, not putting more toxic stuff into the air of your home, like not putting more stuff on your body that disrupts hormones and all of that stuff. And so, I mean, if you have to take it to that super physical level, like, that's great. For me, it ended up being more of a spiritual journey, and the other stuff just practically made sense. I don't know if I even.
Oh my gosh.
No,
like, listen, you are preaching to the converted. I'm like, I want to stand up and slow clap because I'm just like, yes, louder. I couldn't agree more. Mm-hmm. I love that. And, I have a saying that really came up for me this year in a lot of my meditations. And it was around, micro actions lead to macro change, and I completely agree with you. My intention for my business is not to go out and change the world. It is to change my life, and it is to help others change theirs. Mm-hmm. And the ripple effect from that is extraordinary.
Mhm.
So I want to show people the go
Oh yeah.
alignment. Okay, so first of all, okay, my dream in life is to have one set of each because you've expanded now.
Right.
And I just saw the new ones. I think you have a lapis one now.
No, it's
What's the blue
rainbow
one?
moonstone. Rainbow moonstone.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so
Yeah.
people. There are several different kinds now, and I was so torn on what one to get when I first ordered, and then I was like, don't kid yourself, you wear black every day.
Yeah.
I started with this one. This is the
Black.
onyx. No, black tourmaline. Yeah,
Mhm.
black tourmaline. This is, so there's two products you can get. You can get the clutch,
Mhm.
which I will open and show you. Oh, my oils aren't all in it, but so,
I do that all the time too.
and can the 15 mLs fit in this as well? Does it
Yeah,
work for the 15
on
mLs?
one side. Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
I use it for my rollers just because that's what I like to travel with.
Yeah.
But so there's this size, and then the newer product, I mean, you've had it for a while now, but the product that really like blew my mind was the wallet.
Mhm.
And the wallet is so incredible. Okay. It's like actual wallet on one side, but then you can also contain rollers. I put a crystal up here, and it is I'm just Shan, like every time you all design a new one, release a new one, I'm just blown away by the artistry, the quality. I mean, it's like, you know, you can even, I've gotten this wet so many times, you can clean it. It's stunning. You can travel with it. I'm just like obsessed with everything you all do.
Well, the quality part is really important to us. Like,
Yeah.
I'm carrying it every day. Like when we were back in the before time when we used to all go out and be out
And
in the
see
world all the
humans.
time, right? I was carrying it every day, and so it being durable like was really important. And like it is paint, right? So you can clean it and you can scrub it, but if you get like solvent or oils on it, the best thing you can do is just put it in the sun empty, like, and then you can clean it. Or you can always email me because I help people all the time when that comes up, which actually doesn't come up that often. I'm really impressed with how few cap tightening that goes on. Like seriously, because I was like, oh my god, what happens if people just spill everything in it? And so I've like purposely spilled, and if you put it in the sun on both sides, it totally is fine afterwards, which is kind of amazing. But and we also just made quietly a small one with just rollers, or you can do 5 mLs.
Is that new?
Yeah. And so this is black
Oh,
stone.
excuse me. Sorry.
It's okay.
My son is freaking out for some
Yeah.
reason.
He's like,
So this is a new product then, the mini clutch. Sorry,
yeah,
I'm just gonna close my door because
that's okay. Yeah, I had to do the same for our dog.
that's extraordinary. And so the other thing, and I've mentioned this to my team, but I'm gonna re-mention it. My specific team has a promo code.
That's right. Yeah.
So anyone on my team that goes to is it a com? It's .com.
Yes,
I just have it saved.
go-alignment.com.
Yeah, you can create your own account. You can go in and place your orders. And if you use the promo code all caps Gab Love, is that the one we chose?
Let's look it up. I think
let's look it up because I don't remember what one we chose.
I mean, this was my biggest fear for the interview, is to not remember specific and then have people have the wrong code.
I think it's Gab Love, if I'm not mistaken. Because GH Love. See? Frick, good thing we checked.
And you get 20% off, and I'll totally put a gift in there for you because I just love you guys.
Oh my gosh, like so generous. And I'm going to order one today because I'm due for a new one, except now I'm a little bit anxious because like I have the 2 black tourmaline ones. I think I'm due to start a new color scheme.
Oh God. I don't know how you're gonna choose.
Good luck, Gab, because I already feel
Today's only come
anxious.
in 3 choices, the new one, so at least there's only 3 choices. I don't know.
Totally.
But yeah, and then we're working on other stuff, and that code will work on our website. We're gonna add like crystal water bottles. And so I'm not sure if I'll be able to do the code on that because we're not making it, right? But I will have like a code that you guys can use separate or whatever. And then we're gonna be doing, I've just my one of my pandemic obsessions was just with malas and meditation bead sets. And so I started making like crystal malas.
Of course you did, Shan.
And then I'm dyeing the little tassel with like plant dyes. And so
just stop.
And then we're also working on designs for like a yoga wear line that's more like spiritual leisure, all natural fabrics with like, natural dye.
You two. I'm curious. We're almost at, I have like 2 more questions. We're almost at an hour, and I'm also sweating because of how happy I am, which happens to me sometimes. I get hot when I'm excited. Just briefly, working with your life partner.
Okay, yeah.
It could go either way.
Oh yeah. So the yoga helps a lot, honestly. Like if we don't do yoga for a few days, and we just do like a 15-minute set in the morning. And it's really easy. It's not like, oh my God, I gotta get dressed for yoga. Like, no, pajamas, like who cares? That helps with patience. And then the other thing is like really like giving each other space when we need it, right? Like we're both kind of really independent workers. So that works out well for us. We like kind of separate tasks and take care of those things. And then just general like relationship work, like being kind and loving as much as possible, really remembering why you love your partner instead of focusing on resentments and stuff. And of course, like we have real conversations when things need to be addressed, but we're coming up on our 12th wedding anniversary, or not wedding, but like anniversary together in the middle of this month. And really just appreciating the person that you're with, like really seeing them, and if you're going to project onto them, project the best. Like that's my biggest advice to people. Like, right, we're always projecting, like try to project the best on them, because when you're around a couple that is like not doing very well and they're both like in pain, you can tell them they're like picking at each other. And like we're on the same team, like if Jimmy's having a bad day, I give him some space, and then I say like, what's going on with you? And sometimes I'm not in the best place and I'm like, what the F is going on with you, right? But like eventually we come to a place where we're calm and able to talk. And so just really like doing your own inner work, right? That's what makes it possible to work with him every day. And we've spent like almost every day together for most of our relationship. And especially now that we've been at home, working from home and kind of sequestered at home. And so just really figuring out how to like let each of you have your own interests, because that's really important too. And that's what's really helped us, is like doing our emotional work on our own, coming together and being honest and doing that stuff. And that all takes vulnerability. And I had to learn that because I grew up in a household where feelings were totally not okay, like so many people. And so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that just kind of reps me back to like the business is really like any business you start. It really is an act of like learning to love yourself, I think. If you're doing it right, and that's going to look like anything, like, but it really is, it's about, for me at least, like I prioritize that first. I have to,
Yeah.
so that I can be kind and loving.
I just love you both. I'm so excited. I'm so ecstatic
Love
to see
you.
all the amazing things you're doing. I feel so grateful to have you as like a cross line, the both
Oh
of
my
you.
gosh.
It just feels so good. It just feels
Mhm.
so good to have so many, I mean, truly high vibe humans around to just like be in our corner, you know?
And
Um,
it's like different than a lot of other doTERRA teams, and they're wonderful. And the best thing about Go Alignment is I've gotten to know and been in touch with so many other teams, and everybody has been wonderful. We have wonderful clients. There is something extra um special about like the little essential practice universe and all of our little galaxies in it. Like there's just like so much love here,
yeah,
and people, like, you can tell people are really trying to be better humans and try to create a better planet, you know.
yeah,
So,
yeah, really.
and you're like
Um,
one of my just total star crushes. I'm just like,
oh my God, I love you, Shannon.
I love you.
Um, I always ask at the end of every single interview, and then I'll just, at the end, Kara, if you have any questions, because you've been, here the whole time. But I always ask if you are going to be sequestered on an island. I mean, y'all were sequestered this year, okay? But you could only have 3 doTERRA products. What would they be?
Mhm.
And just to assuage any sort of anxiety, LLV only counts as one product.
Okay. Yeah. LLB for sure. Can't be without it. And then I was thinking about this because when you sent me the questions, I was like, oh my God, that question is so hard. I think I would go with DDR Prime. I'm just going to go super practical. DDR Prime, so that if anything health wise were to happen, we could address it. And then lavender, because I just love it, even though I used to hate it. And it fixes so many things. Like, I would just go fully practical, I think.
I love that. You're
Yeah.
the first person to ever mention DDR Prime, by the way.
Wow. Yeah.
And out of 6 interview guests, all 6 have named LLV as their first go-to.
Wow.
All
Yeah.
6. And you know what's amazing is that it's one of the things that I find is the hardest sell in
Mhm.
terms of like people being kind of like, I don't know about this.
I'll never take it consistently.
And
I'm
it
like, dude, seriously, man.
changed
Like,
my life.
yes, straight up saved my life.
Yeah.
Like, not even being a drama queen about it. Like,
Yeah.
saved my life.
Yeah. Okay. So Kara's saying this was amazing. I need like 5 more hours with Shannon to ask questions, maybe part 2. Yes. And so there definitely will be a part 2. And I would love for Jimmy to join us on
Yes.
that one.
Yep.
So little reminder, okay, on Instagram, their Instagram hashtag is at Go Alignment, all one word, all lowercase.
Mm-hmm.
The website is go-alignment.com.
Mm-hmm.
We have a wonderful promo code. It's all caps GH love in all one word, which gets you 20% off any of the actual Go Alignment cases, which is, y'all, if you don't have one yet, you are going to love them. I'm obsessed with mine. Shan, it is just like, honestly, such a honor to walk with you, to witness you, to call you a friend. I just, the gratitude I feel for our connection and knowing you and seeing you is enormous. Thank you so much for being here and giving us an hour of your time. I know my team is going to just adore it.
I could hang out here all day. It's just so, like, seriously, I love you so much. And I'm just so grateful, like, seriously, for the whole community. You know, it's really, it means a lot.
Well, you and Jimmy have a wonderful like start of summer. Let's stay in touch soon, and let's relaunch for a follow-up maybe in the fall in like September or something.
That sounds great, like around convention time.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Excitement and fun, because why not?
Exactly. Okay, I love you, sister friend. We'll talk soon.
I love you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.